So this is day 2, day 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. A few things kind of went a little wonky on me, which is fine. I'll get that all squared away. But I'm pretty sure I'm ready to start welding. Yeah. All right, so I'm sitting here and I'm having my lunch and I'm looking at this thing, the corner fits good and this is fitting there and that's fitting there, and then I'm looking at this step here, and as you can see right here, what's going on there? See how it gets tight in the middle and then it gets big over there. So I'm wondering, and as I was putting this in, I actually hit this whole thing upwards just to get it to sit into place, and the whole floor popped up. Then I look over here, and when the floor popped up, I noticed this terrible patch. I don't even know what to call it. That popped off the floor up front there. And I know it's hard to see, but this whole thing over here came off the floor. So it's not even welded in correctly. So the whole floor is pretty much buckled. So now I have to figure out how to fix it. Obviously, I'm going to take all the weight off the floor. I know I have a mess here. I'm going to take all the weight off the floor, and I have to actually figure out how to pick the floor up. Maybe a quarter of an inch, right? Maybe a quarter of an inch, and see if I can't get everything to sit flat. All right, so I did not go ahead and clean up my mess. But in order for me to get that patch panel to fit correctly, as well as this patch panel, everything needs to fit correctly before we actually start putting everything together. So what I wound up doing was, if you can see here, it's a ratchet shaft right to the roof. And I literally just pulled the floor up to where it was level, and it got it pretty darn close. So I went ahead and made the patch panel for the corner right here. Came out great. It's looking cool. This actually, everything's going to be very solid. Once I pulled the floor up, I don't know if you can see that. So once I pulled that floor up, yep, I did that. Once I pulled the floor up and I actually got it level, everything started falling into place. Like this whole section right here, everything right here, all across, started lining up perfectly. Once I pulled the floor up and I leveled the floor out where it was supposed to be, obviously this crappy section over here was the culprit, but once I got the floor up to where it's got to be, everything just really started falling into place. So I don't want to move anything right now because I have everything pretty much where it is. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to grab the welder. So I'm going to start tacking. I'll probably get this section not fully welded, but welded to a point where it's going to stay. Same thing over here. I'm going to just put a couple of plug welds in there just to keep it sturdy where it's got to be. I might put one on the bottom there just to keep the two pieces of the panel together, just to squish them together, because everything is lapped over one another. So I have to I'm going to clean up before I start doing all this because I have an absolute mess. You guys want to see my mess? Yes, I made quite the mess. There is just crap everywhere. Yes, I know. When I do this, it's just a tornado of chaos. That's the exhaust, by the way. It's not even clamped. Yeah, that's going bye-bye. So basically, like I said, what we're going to do with the truck is the whole motor, transmission, everything's coming out. We're going to do a 700 R4, a stock 350, nothing special, 600 carburetor. Going to do a dual exhaust, 2.5-inch dual exhaust. We're going to make it loud, rowdy. It's going to be a cruiser. It's going to be a rat rod. Okay? Otherwise, the restoration on this would just be insane. Of course, I still got to do the cab corner here. I know a lot of you guys are going to cringe that I'm going to leave that there, but right now I'm just doing this, like I said, so he can actually get in the vehicle, sit down, and drive it. There's just so much other work to do on this thing. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to clean up my mess, and then I'm going to bust out the welder. I gotta go ahead and put this seam back together. Get that out of the way. Yeah, I got it pinched back together, so I'll weld, take it off. I'll do this bottom one before I go ahead and put this one on, just to make it look decent. It looks like everything fits pretty good. I'm gonna have to make an adjustment over here on that back patch. I gotta actually bring the bend, I gotta take some off of the top there just to bring it up about 1/8 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, something like that, just so it'll have a solid footing. But as you can see here, I actually just got everything into place, sitting where it's got to be for the most part, and I actually let some tension off of that. It had kind of pulled everything back together, so I actually let some tension off of that, and everything looks to be sitting where it's got to be. That side comes up a smidgen, and I think we're going to run with that. Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. So let's just go around and look. So we got that all welded in. We got this in. It's nice and solid. We got the patch panel. I got to go ahead and clean that up a little bit. That didn't work out. You know, it's just all the fit and finish work. But I got the step sitting in there. Got that patch panel in. I'll get the floor in there once we get the floor all set and where it's got to go. I'm gonna trim up the corner. There's your old step. I'm gonna trim up the corner and see if I can just get that patch on there just to kind of get an idea of where it's going to be sitting in relation to the floor. I don't really need that on right now, that corner piece. I'm more concerned with the structural integrity of this whole unit right here. So I'm gonna pop this off, hopefully for the last time, clean up some bigger welds that are kind of in my way right now, and we can go ahead and get this thing permanently welded in. We hope. Still there? Good. All right. So I used the tech screws. I pulled everything together. I pulled it out. Worked out great. I'm getting a nice hot burn on all the welds. It feels like I'm getting really good penetration. So I'm going to go ahead, finish plugging up all these holes. I'm going to actually go underneath and I'm going to actually run a couple of beads of weld along the bottom there just to give it a little extra reinforcement. And fill some more holes. This side, and we'll deal with that when we get there. You know, clean up, and once I get everything welded and I get it solid and I'm able to actually drop the floor back down on itself, see where it sits, and then I can start cleaning everything up. It's all welded in. I got some spots on the bottom welded in. Now I get to grind all this down. right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we got going on here. So everything's welded in, everything's solid. I got really good penetration on everything. I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. It's solid. You saw me standing on it. I mean, there's a bit of cleanup work, but for the most part, I mean, it's solid. I even put some on the bottom there to go ahead for reinforcement. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I left this big and fat over here. I know it looks terrible, but it's good. I gave myself plenty of metal here to just form a shape. That's the idea anyway. That's why I built up the weld so high, is so I can actually knock it down and make it look the best I can. So before I actually go and start grinding down all my welds and everything, I'm gonna actually go ahead and I gotta patch this little guy right here. Probably should just leave it, but I mean, I'm gonna be right here working on this cab corner here, so. But yeah, so before I start grinding everything, I'm gonna go ahead and get this cab corner patched in. I mean, the lines, everything looks like it's lining up pretty good here. That looks like about where it needs to be. I'm gonna butt weld that. I mean, why not? I mean, I think I'll be all right butt welding that. I don't know. I've never done it before, so I'm gonna experiment. It's best to experiment on everybody else's stuff, but so that's the next up on the list. So I'm gonna set the camera down and I'm gonna start trimming and cutting.